Okay, so now that we are comfortable with the node graph, we're gonna take a look at the brass texture and then the green patina and the glass in the same video. So first thing, just a color node to set up my base color for the brass. So this, as you can expect, is gonna be a yellow color. So on top of that, I'm gonna apply a triplanar texture with some variation and just a little. So here is the texture that I use, so the same, like the little breakup. So I combine these two textures in overlay into my merge. After that, I will reuse a triplanar texture to add some scratch. So this texture is not gonna be very visible, because if we have a look on the reference, it's not on all the object, it's just some area like here, here, here. So we're gonna do a pretty simple texture. So here we're gonna apply the scratch texture in soft light on top of our base, and here is the result. So it's already pretty cool. And after that, I'm gonna add an oil texture with a gradient map. So the oil texture is just a procedural texture that you can find into Mari. So you just write oil, and I really like this texture because it's pretty cool for a very huge object if you wanna break up your texture and avoid the repetition of your texture. So if you double click here, you can tweak the size, and then this thing here, the organicness, is a bit like I don't know how to explain, but you will see the effect. So less you have and more you have this kind of breakup that it's really cool. And then when I push the organicness at full, I prefer to remove all the roughness, because otherwise it becomes too noisy. So this is the kind of texture that you can expect from this node. So as you can see, that's very interesting. And on top of that, so we'll remove it. So this is the oil texture that I use. After that, I put a gradient map. So the gradient map is just a node that allow you to remap the value, not to remap, but to give color to the value. So here, when you create the node, so gradient map, double click on it. As you can see, we have the red, green and blue color. Here is the input, connect it, show it, and here you can see, so we have the white color, the black color in red, the middle color in green, and the white color in blue. And here you can change the position. So if you raise the black, then the red is gonna be more important. Then here you can tweak the green channel. I mean, this is pretty cool when you have a gray texture that you want to transform into a color texture. So here is my gradient map, and I wanted to add some variation into my brass. So I use a cloud as a mask still. And here is the result. So it's gonna be pretty subtle, I guess. So yeah, very subtle. I put it as multiply. So as you can see, this is the effect. And this is gonna be my texture for the brass. So still the bake point. So I will delete it, bake it. So now that the bake point is done, so all the texture is stored into that node here. And now, so we want the brass being visible, as you can see, on the edge, mainly on the edge of the geometry. So for that, we're gonna use our curvature. So here is the mask. So here is the brass texture. on the left, and here in green is the mask brass. So this mask is very important for our object. So let's see what we're gonna do to have a proper result pretty quickly. So here I call my curvature. So this is the curvature baked from Modo. Then I will invert it and level it. So this is the result that I have. So already we can see that our brass is going to be visible on the white area. And then I use the histogram scan here. So in the input I will put my range, so that means the value between 0 and 1, and here in the position I will put this texture here. So this texture, so like this, I'm gonna apply this texture into this range. So let's see the result. So this is the result, and as you can see, we don't have only a linear line like we had here, but now we have some variation into our line. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty useful to have complex mask. So here, if you change, for example, the size, you will see that this will impact the effect of your histogram scan. So I will leave it at 2. So this is a really good base for our brass. So I use black constant here as a base. On top I put my histogram scan, so that means that if I mask it here with the occlusion, so you can see occlusion with histogram select, if I mask it here, I will remove value from the histogram scan and I will have black. So let's take a look at the result. So here is the result. So as you can see, we removed some value. So this was before, and this is with the occlusion, ambient occlusion used as a mask. So we will remove some value, and now that's a bit less linear, and that's what we want. We don't want linear mask, otherwise it's not gonna be realistic. So after that I create a new merge and a paint node here. So just remember, press P to create a paint node, and this one I put it with transparency. So transparent, alright, put it on scalar data because that's the white and black value. Press OK, and then here is our paint node. So as you can see, we have transparency everywhere, and I already paint some area, so I don't want this mask to impact the laser. So that's why in that paint here I have the laser in black, and then here in black, as you can see, I removed some value that I didn't want. So for example, here this line, I wanted to remove it. So here's the effect. So as you can see, I just changing the amount of the merge. So this node here, the paint, is the one that we're gonna paint by hand. So now that we have this texture, for example, we can spend our time refining our mask. So for example, if you check the reference, we have here, we have some brass on the side. So here, let's have a look. So here, so I just have to take a brush, so press K, then go on the organic brush here, and let's try to find the storm. Okay, this one here. Press R to change the scale of your brush, and then here we're gonna paint that mask and add or remove some of the brass texture. So let's just have a look before how it looks for now. So here is the mask. here is the brass texture. So I combine the brass into merge here, press 1, and I use this as a mask. And as you can see here, the result is pretty cool. Like, this looks like the reference. Oops. So we have the brass visible on the edge, so like this. So now you can spend some time refining your mask. So we said here that we have some brass, so I just have to select this node here, select my brush, and then I just have to paint. Oops. So let's here take a white value. So now I just have to paint, and I will add some brass visible here. So as I said, that's the moment to spend your time and trying to to do something pretty cool. So when you can't have the final results only with procedural, that's the moment to paint. So this way we add some brass and we make the texture a bit more interesting. Okay. Same for here. Okay, let's say I want more brass on this edge here. So press B to bake your paint. Alright, I'm not gonna spend too much time now. But yeah, that's just to show you how to proceed with the mask. So yeah, we can spend a lot of time refining this mask because it's very interesting and it's pretty cool to paint, because every time you add a paint stroke, you reveal your texture, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. Alright, that's nice. So here, using the white color, we're gonna reveal the brass, but also, for example, let's say that okay, I don't like this line here, just switch to the black color and then we're gonna remove it. Okay, now I'm removing the brass. So this way. I don't like this. Alright. So here we go. So that's our brass mask. So this one is very important. And on the final texture you may see a difference between now and the end of the texture, because I will spend some time to refine my mask. But otherwise the setup will remain the same. And here is a radio transmitter just to store this mask here and reuse it at the end of the project, just to provide a separate mask. So for look dev, so if they want to tweak our texture, then they will have this mask here and they will combine it with different texture, or just to make it more visible, or to change the IOR to make it more realistic. So yeah, here is our brass texture. Then we will have the green patina. So as we saw on the texture here, there is some green here that's coming from the green patina. So we're gonna do this now. So for the green patina, I just have a tile texture because it's very it's not very obvious on the reference. It's very subtle, so I don't want to spend too much time on the texture. So I just found the texture on internet and I tiled it. So this is my texture for the Green Patina. But the most important would be the mask again. So let's see what I did for the mask. So I start with my occlusion. So from my occlusion here, then I have an histogram scan here and another one here, and I will combine both of them here in lighting. So here we go. After that I have an axis mask here. So the axis mask is just like the axis projection, so that's a mask. So if I double click, you can choose to mask on Y, X or Z. So here I decide to mask on Y and negative Y. So as you can see, I will not have any value on the side, and that's what I want. So here's the result. So I combine my two occlusion, my two histogram select here with the axis mask, and I put this in multiply. So this is the result that I have now. Then I have my black constant here in the base because I wanna mask it with the curvature. I want to remove the green patina from the edges because the edges are from the brass. Then I level my curvature, and here's the result. Alright. After that I have a tileable texture here. So still the same texture. Apparently I really love this one here. Set range, just to increase the value. As you remember, set range, I put the new max at 3, so the new white are at 3, and the minimum is 0.1. Then I clamp the value just to make sure we don't have, I clamp the value just to remove the white area here, and I'm using this range here. I use this range with this position texture. So this will drastically remove the brass and will create that mask here. That it's pretty interesting already. So this is the mask that we have now. After that I still have my black constant here. We could reuse this one, but you know, that's just solid color, so that costs nothing. Then I have a tileable texture, again the same. So for this one maybe I could use this one, reuse this one. No, that's not the same scale. So here's our texture, the set range, still to remap the value. And then so here we remove a lot of value. So as you can see on the reference, we don't have a lot of green patina. So I'm trying to have a complex mask, but very procedural, so I don't have to paint anything for now. And then here, just a fixed mask here, so I can, that's the same mask than the brass. Here, that's the one that you paint. So on the fixed mask, that's just a transparent mask. Here I removed the laser text, the laser pieces, and then I paint. I remove texture in black, and I will add texture. I will add texture with the white. So here is a bake point of my mask and the radio transmitter here to store the value for later. So here is our mask. So as you can see, it's pretty dark, but let's see the result. So the base texture for the green patina is here. I'm gonna show the final merge here, and here we go. So now, as you can see here, we have some green patina. So I select this node here, and then with my brush, oops, using the white color. Oh wait, that's because I have this guy here. So let's disable it. Okay. So because I've got the bake point, everything that I can paint here will not be visible, because this guy here stores all of the graph that we have before. So if you want to paint something and see the feedback, you have to disable it. So press D to disable it. So now I select this node again, and I'm gonna reduce the opacity to 0.25, and let's say that we want some green patina somewhere, let's say, okay, somewhere here. So now if I paint in white, as you can see, we're gonna add some green patina on our object. So here it's too obvious, it's too visible, so just make sure to paint it with a little opacity, because we want to blend this texture. So I already paint some value here, some value here. So yeah, that's the same kind of mask than the brass. You can spend a lot of time refining your mask, putting some green patina somewhere, make your object very interesting, put some life on your object. So that's, this little color variation is pretty nice. That's very beautiful to see. Alright, bake it. Don't go too crazy with that mask, because as we see in the reference, it's very subtle. Even if the reference is pretty bad, like the resolution is pretty bad, we can see that we don't have a lot of green patina on it. Alright, so we've done with the green patina. So just make this mask, delete, bake it, and bake it again. So the bake point is done. So let's take a look at our assets. So now we have the laser texture, we have our metal texture, we have the brass texture, the green patina, and now we just wanna texture the final part, so the glass. So this is gonna be a quick texture as well. So as you can see here, we have the glass. So let's take a look. Oh, original, we have a cloud. For the basic value, the basic variation here, on top of that I've got the tile texture. So the tile texture is just a smudge, you can see. So a smudge that I put at an amount of 0.59 here. And what I wanted to do is to use the ambient occlusion, so that I call with the radio node. So remember, press tab, call the radio node here, and then double click, right click, connect to transmitter, and then here select the ambient occlusion. So now the node has the ambient occlusion inside, so we can double check. Alright, so this one has the ambient occlusion, so like this one that I leveled, and this was to remove the smudge from this area, because so as you can see the geometry, I'm gonna isolate it. So the geometry is a bit bumped like this, so I wanted to remove the smudge from this area, because it's pretty difficult to touch this area. So let's have a look at the result. Alright, so as you can see, now we removed the smudge here in the corner. After that I use the radio nut dust. So remember, if we go back into our metal graph, here I decided to store the dust with a radio transmitter here and the mask here. So then, like for now, it's pretty useful because I just have to create a radio node, call with MISC connect to transmitter, call the dust that we see here, and I have my dust texture into that node here, and same for the mask. So radio node, calling my transmitter, mask dust here. So this one has the mask dust, and then I level it and I apply it to my glass. So now we have some dust on top of the glass, as you can see here in the corner. Just an HSV to make it a bit darker, so double click, I just put the value to 0.1, so it's almost black but not full of black. The bake point and the UV mask here, let's have a look. So here is where we have the UVs for the glass, so you can see here, and this is connected to this merge. So now if we have a look, we did the laser texture here, connected into that merge, mask by the mask material, texture the metal, bake it, connect it to a merge using the mask material here, brass, the brass mask, very important here, connect to this merge, green patina, same thing, connect to this merge using the mask, and then the glass texture is here, connected to this merge using a mask material to apply it only on the glass, and then this is our final texture for the diffuse. So we've got texture everywhere now, and I wanted to create a scratch map for the whole object. So let's have a look. So for this I use the axis projection. So the axis projection is different than the triplanar projection. So this one will have only one slot, so there is only one slot here, and will project the texture on all the axes. So just grab your texture, plug it into here. So the wall scale here is the scale of your texture. So when you create the texture, by default, double click, the wall scale is set up to 200. Okay, I thought it was 100, but it's 200. So I set it to only 2 here. So then I use a level. So here is the scratch texture that I use, and then I use the radio node to call the curvature using a level and then an histogram scan to apply the scratch only into the edges. So here is the result. That's the kind of result that you have in Substance Painter using the smart mask. So the scratches are only visible on the edges, So using this guy here, the level, you can expand the value, so you'll see you can make it pretty strong or pretty subtle. So if it's strong like this is way too much. As you can see here, this is a post-apocalyptic value. So let's go back to this value here. Then I just invert because I want the scratch in white. And then to avoid these very linear scratches on the whole model, I'm gonna use a mask. So black constant here on the base of this merge, my texture here, and then I use this as a mask. So the occlusion with a level, axis projection with a set range. So let's have a look on the texture that I use. Oh, original, same texture. And then I multiply this texture with a merge, and I use it as a mask. So now, as you can see, I removed almost all the value that we had here, but I just keep it on few area. So here is before the mask, and this is after the mask. So now we have some scratch somewhere by here, and as you can see, this mask is pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. I don't have scratch everywhere, only on different area. Alright, and here is paint node to remove the scratch on the laser. Okay, I don't want the scratch on the laser, so I use it as a mask. Here we go, and then a set range. Alright, just to make the scratches a bit more visible. So this is before, this is after. So if I double click here, we can see that I set the new 1 to 2, so the new white value to 2 here, and I just use a cloud. I just use a cloud as value here and add this to my texture. Alright, so maybe we could put this to make the mask more visible for you guys. Alright, so you can see here now this cloud reveal our texture. Then you can change the size of your cloud, so that's just still to have different value on the scratch. So all the scratch, they don't have the same value. Now we have a cloud on top, so that means the scratch here are more brighter than here. Alright, so let's go back. Okay, but this is not very important for the diffuse, but it's gonna be a bit more important for the spec map and the roughness map, and also the bump map. And here we go, we are done with for the diffuse. So as you can see here, so now we have our scratch backdrop here, the glass, green patina, so we texture the whole model, and this is our texture. So if I want to change something, that's pretty quick. For example, if I found that my laser is a bit dark, what I can do is just go here, disable my bake points here. Let's go back at the first node. Okay, here we have our color node. Select this guy here, create HSV, and let's say that my laser is a bit too dark. HSV, I'm gonna push the value to 3, and here we go. Now we have a brighter laser. So you can change the value, or if you find that your value are too bright, that's the same thing, you can reduce the value a bit more darker. So for me, I will say a bit brighter like this is better. Okay, now go back here into our bake point, enable it, delete the node, the baked, sorry, and rebake it. Okay, so the bake point is done. So let's go at the end of our texture, and here again I have a bake point. So before the export I like to use the bake point, so the export is a bit faster, but that's not useful for that asset because it's pretty light. We don't have a lot of UDIMs and we already baked every single material, so there is no need for a bake point, so you can delete it. And now we're gonna have a look at our channels. So our channels, they are here, so let me bring the window here. Alright, so this is the channel tab. I'm gonna put them here with the node properties. Okay, so as you can see, my channels are already created. So to create the channels, that's pretty simple. You right click here, add channel. This little window will pop up, then choose default, rename the channel as you want. So can be diffuse, that can be albedo. I mean, just rename it as you want, but for the diffuse I would call it diff. Set your size to 4K, depth 16 bits, then the color data, make sure that you are not on scalar data. Scalar data is only for black and white texture, and then press OK. So this will create a thing that looks like this. So a bottom transparency connected at the base of a merge. Here the merge is called base, and this connected to that node. This is your channel, and then just select this, so you just have to select this 3 node here, take this connection, and then you just connect the end of your graph into your last node here, and this way your texture, so this node here, it is connected to your channel, and this is how it works. So now if you want to export your channel, you just have to select the channel and export it, but we will see that at the end of the tutorial. So we've done with the diffuse. Now let's take a look at the roughness map, spec and bump.